When I was a little girl, I was lonely most of the time. And then one day at 8 years old, I picked up a book and my whole life changed. I got lost inside the story, reading it from cover to cover and feeling like I was living another life. And from that moment on, books were my escape from criticism, from anger, into a world of magic and heroic acts of victory over adversity. In a lot of ways, books saved my life. And I started to dream that I could do the same thing for other people someday, that I could make them feel like they were a part of something bigger than themselves, that there was a reason they were alive, and that no matter what they were going through, there was hope waiting at the end of any trial. So in 2010, I became a published author. But somewhere along the way, writing and selling books started to feel like pressure and stress and never living up to my potential. And I've had to fight to hold on to the joy of being an author, of writing books. But now I've found my way back to love and purpose in my writing. And this is my journey back to living fully, authentically myself. This is Project 180. Hello and welcome. Oh my gosh, it's time, you guys. I really do love being an author. It's such a gift in this world to have a career where you literally just get to make up worlds and tell stories and explore deep themes and explore the things that have happened in your own life and have readers see what you imagined and put on the page like a movie going in their head. It is such a gift. And for the past many years now, I really have been more focused on educating and teaching and kind of being in this comfort zone of YouTube and courses. And the more I got into YouTube and courses and the more that felt really safe and really successful, the more afraid I became of really going all in and experimenting. Part of it is because there's more eyeballs on me. So if I mess up or I fail, I feel like there's going to be judgment and I don't want to fail publicly. But also, one thing that people don't necessarily tell you about this path of being an entrepreneur in any way, not just writing, but especially creative entrepreneurs of all kind, is that it is just as much of a mental game as it is a marketing game. Like, we all know that we have to learn to market and we have to step outside our comfort zone and we have to do things that make us visible, that make us seen, that make us, put us out there in front of readers or buyers. But there is such a mental component of it, of taking the thing that you love so much and that is a part of your soul that you created, and then bearing that soul in front of all these people. And it's so difficult not to judge yourself based on the numbers that are coming in or the reviews that are coming in, or whether this launch did better than the last one, or whether someone else is doing better than you, or if people are talking about you, or people are not paying attention to you at all. It gets into this place where it feels like your book sales become a part of your worth as a human. And once you get to that point where instead of focusing on the joy of the writing and the stories and the things that you loved about this, if it tips over into fear and worry and judgment and criticism and comparison, that mindset can make it really hard to get excited for your work, to believe in your work, and to stand up for yourself and say, hey, this is this great book that I know you're going to love. And sometimes we can't even see what we're doing clearly because we want so badly for the money to be coming in or for the recognition or to be able to quit our job and do this thing full time, that we begin to sort of leave behind the thing that we loved about this to try to become like other people who are doing this, or to try to find those ways to market ourselves, even if it's killing our soul. That's going deep for just the beginning of this video, but that's where we're going here. So if you are new here, hello, my name is Sarra Cannon. I am the indie author, fully self-published author of 31 novels. I have sold over 1 million books in ebook alone and have made over $2 million in profit with my books over the years. And I love this path, but around 2018, I started this YouTube channel and did not expect that starting YouTube and putting my story out there would split my attention. Then in 2019, I had a second child, and having a baby in your 40s is not for the weak of heart. And then we moved and we had a lot of things going on. So the last 6 to 8 years of my life have really been focused in a direction that is not fully on my books and my writing. And I love that. I like being multi-passionate. I love being a mom. I love having these two careers. I'm passionate about education. But if you've been following me for a while, you know that I also, for the past at least 3 years, have been trying to get back on this sort of train where I'm loving my books again and I'm writing regularly. So back in 2024, towards the very beginning of the year, I made this video about how I'm going to sell more books in 2024. And I called it Project Phoenix, which was the idea of, a phoenix burns and then rises from the ashes to become this beautiful, magical creature. And so my idea behind Project Phoenix was my career was in what felt like ashes, and I was going to rise from the ashes and become a phoenix and a bestseller again. Now, has that fully happened? I have to give myself credit that some of that plan has worked extremely well. So I'll give you a little update on what went well and what I did. And some of it was just ignored and not followed through. The places where I followed through, it's easy to see that if I follow these steps that I know and that I teach my students, it will work. It does start to build momentum, and it does start to have compounding effect. Once you start publishing again, you start talking about your books, you start promoting them, they sell better. However, I have had also struggle with my mental health. I went through major burnout after I published my 30th novel, which is The Disappearance of Vanessa Shaw. So I did actually post 2024. I have published 2 more books, but I'll get into that list in a second. But I went through some mental health challenges. I went through some burnout. Then I hit pneumonia, and I had months of struggle, which then triggered 2 separate autoimmune conditions. And so the past couple of years have been a real roller coaster, but I am going to also celebrate my wins because I feel like I don't do that enough for myself. I'm always focused on where did I mess up? Where did I fall short? Where did I disappoint myself? But what we're going to do right now is we're going to celebrate the wins of that process. So I started Project Phoenix in 2024. Since then, I have written and published 2 new books. So The Disappearance of Vanessa Shaw came out in October of 2024. It had 2 separate covers. This book sold over 10,000 copies and has really great reviews everywhere. I think it was probably one of the best books I've ever written. I love that book. And this March, I published a new book in my Shadow Demons world that's a new spinoff called The Shadow Games. And this is book 1 called A Mirror of Shadows. And I'm currently working on book 2, A Throne of Thorns. So all of that timeline, I had hoped to publish multiple books in 2024. So it has taken me longer, 1 book in 2024, 1 book in 2026, than I expected. However, all we can do is look to the future. We can look in the past to see what we did right, what we wish we could change, and use it as data. But the minute we start looking at the ways that we failed in the past, or the perception of failure, or the ways that we didn't quite live up to our expectations, and we begin to put that pressure on ourselves, or that regret of I didn't do it, and we make it mean something about ourselves, like I'm not good enough, or this is never going to happen for me, or I'm not the type of person that's trustworthy, then we start to put a lot of heaviness on our career. So if you're watching this and you are somebody who maybe published a book and then you had a death in the family, or a mental health issue, or a health issue, and you've been away from publishing and promoting for a while, one of the best things that you can do for yourself is say, here's what I was going through. I acknowledge that. I honor myself. I love myself anyway. I'm going to release the disappointment. I'm going to draw a line in the sand, and I'm going to say everything from here forward is a clean slate. And I'm going to do the best that I can moving forward to let go of that regret. Because if you carry that regret, and this is something I have learned intimately, so I'm not just preaching at you, I'm preaching at myself, to say that, I have been carrying the regret of ways that I did not capitalize on some of my earliest momentum for too long. And it's not serving me. It's not going to help me get where I want to go. So we're letting that go. We're celebrating the future. So I launched those 2 books. I have been working steadily on creating audiobooks with my narrator, Kylie Stewart. We are up to book 9, but only 2 have been published. So there have been other issues and time delays and things like that that have delayed that process. So we're moving forward. I've updated my website. I started a membership, the Broken Chapter Society, and all told, I did increase my income of my books by more than $80,000. So that is a huge win. I will take that any day of the week. And so I'm going to really celebrate that. But there's still so many things that were in my original plans for Project Phoenix that I have not followed through on. And I think it's really going to make a difference. But when I was approaching it, and I want to really talk about this mindset piece here in the beginning, because it's not talked about enough in indie publishing. We talk so much about the marketing and the tropes and the book covers and Facebook ads and other things like that. But y'all, the mindset is one of the most important parts of it in terms of sustainability and longevity in this career, is how you think of yourself and what those sales numbers mean, and whether you're able to pick yourself back up after a disappointment or not. And I really feel like when I started this idea of Project Phoenix, I had a good attitude, but I was also really nosediving into burnout at the time. And it was like, I'm just going to add more on my plate and I know I can do it. And I was being very positive about what I thought I could accomplish. And I really did send myself into a really difficult place for the majority of 2025. And so here in 2026, as I revisit Project Phoenix, there's a few changes that have happened on the back end that I want to talk about that are helping me create this new plan. So for one, I've had multiple team changes in 2025, 2024, 2025. But here in 2026, I have a really strong team behind me. So I have an operations manager. Her name is Malia. She works part-time for me. And she is really handling, like, we just moved all my courses over to Kajabi. She's handling a lot of my customer support, and just a lot of systems are being built out, SOPs, various other things that make things a lot easier. I also have a VA team that works for me part-time. They're editing a lot of my videos and they're helping out with social media and other just like affiliates and PayPal payments and other things like that. They're mostly both of my team members are mostly working in my Heart Breathings business, but having that team behind me and better systems is freeing up a lot more of my time. So don't compare yourself to me, because I'm late stage business. I'm 16 years into running two separate businesses, but I will say that having help when you really need it is super important. So as early as you can afford to find an assistant who can help you with some of the things that are just mundane tasks or things that are repetitive tasks that someone else can do for you, the first chance you can afford it, it can be very helpful. And I did not do that early enough in my business because I was afraid, that mental side of it, that I also didn't feel 100% like I was worthy of help and attention. So that is another piece of that. But I know many of you are here to hear what exactly I'm doing to increase my sales. So we're going to start moving into that. Project 180 is my 180-day commitment to myself to start shifting into better mindset, better health, better organization in my home, and just more joy in my life, and really getting to I want to use the word potential, but we had a conversation about that in my latest video. And I feel like potential is one of those trigger words that is often used to indicate that you're a disappointment, that you're not living up to your potential. But for me, I know that I am capable of so much more. And I have these big dreams and big ideas. And so often I just wish that I could just pull it out of myself, like become the person that I was always meant to be. And I know that that is a lifelong journey, especially when you're somebody who has been through a lot of trauma. I have CPTSD. I also was assaulted in 2000 and changed the trajectory of my life. I've been through 2 house fires. I've been through a lot in my life. And all of those traumas have added more difficulty in me believing in myself. But like I mentioned, believing in yourself and believing in your books and having fun with this and being willing to experiment and fall flat on your face, but then get up and go viral the 9th time through is a huge part of success. And it's that resilience that makes you successful over time, not necessarily the plan to just come out the gate and sell 1 million books in your first month, right? If that's your plan, you're probably going to be disappointed. So it's this attitude of resilience, of experimentation, and of joy along the way that is so, so important. So Project 180 is where I'm applying that philosophy to pretty much everything in my life. And I am currently about 90 days into this. So I'm about halfway through this process of 180 days. And this is where I'm getting really serious. I've set some foundations in other pieces of my life. You can see those videos here on my channel. I think there's a playlist, so I'll link it down below. But now I'm ready to get back to this focus on being a writer. Like, I really and truly feel like I was put on this earth to be a writer and a storyteller, and then to be the person that comes back to my community and says, here's how I did it. Let's get you to that point. Let me show you what I did. Let's collaborate. Let's experiment together. So I feel like in so many ways I am set up for my perfect dream life, but I've just been so heavy on the education side and kind of scared of the writing side. So I have a list of things. Some of them, if you want to go back and watch that Project Phoenix video from 2024, a lot of that goes into more detail. That's a full hour-long video where I go into more detail about each of these steps. But what we're going to do here on Heart Breathing's channel right now is I'm going to walk you through my game board strategy, which is just an idea of setting up dominoes. Like, this is the first thing I'm going to do. And once that's done, it's going to make this next thing fall over, and then the next thing and the next thing. So I have set out a strategy for myself, like a roadmap, that I'm going to be doing one thing at a time, focusing in one place at a time. And I'm actually going to share it with you here on this channel and in my YouTube shorts and on my newsletter. So if you want to see how this is actually working with numbers of how my sales are increasing, how it's working, we're going vulnerable and we're going all in here. It's not going to be necessarily a video every single week, but we are going to share it here. And I'm going to get real and raw and vulnerable with you about how it's working and what worked and what didn't. And I'm saying this up front because I know that it's going to be hard and difficult for me when something doesn't work the way that I want. But at the same time, I feel like not enough people online show the hard times. We see a lot of people who are like, hey, I wrote this book and now it's sold to a big publisher and now I'm making 6 figures and now it hit the New York Times. And we see those pieces of the stories, but we don't necessarily always see the moments where people are really struggling, or it took them years to get that first agent or whatever those pieces are. And so I'm going to show it in real time rather than just some, future being like, oh, I hit the New York Times, but I did struggle for years. I promise. Like, I'm going to show you the struggle, and that is going to be hard. So some weeks will be easier than others. We're going to do it here. My ultimate dream, like, I always start with any plan with a vision for where I want to go. And my ultimate dream and purpose behind being a writer has always been to make people feel like they're a part of something greater. And when I see communities like the community that's grown over Dungeon Crawler Carl, or the communities that have grown up around Fourth Wing or Harry Potter or other book series like Hunger Games, where people see themselves in these characters, or people see someone else who reads similar books that now they've become friends with, and people are able to connect with the author or with that piece of property, that intellectual property, in some way. I feel like it saves lives. And I know it's just fiction, but I feel like it saved my life as a child. And I want to do that and build that and be a part of that. And I want to have fun doing it. So I want to build those communities, like watching people like Matt Denneman and all the Dungeon Crawler Carl fans at San Diego Comic-Con. I was not there, but I was watching a lot of videos on YouTube and Instagram about it. Was so inspirational. But there's also that piece of like, I want that, and I don't know if I'm capable of it. So I'm working on my own belief around it, but I'm also, that's my sort of North Star, is that type of community. People cosplaying, people showing up at Comic-Con to see my books, a TV deal being announced, people showing up at the movie theaters. Like, that's ultimately what I want. But even if it doesn't hit that level of scale, I want that community that feels like they're a part of something beyond just the book, that they are a part of a world that we're creating as fans. Anyway, that's the North Star. The first thing that I'm going to do to really start building this is a solid writing routine. And the way that I create this plan for myself, if you want to do something similar, is with an understanding that I can't do everything at once. I can't fix my website, write 2 books, fix my branding, get new pictures. Like, I can't do all of that at once. So I have to lay out all the things that I want to do, and then place them in what feels to me like the most strategic order so that I'm doing things in the right sequence. So once I have a brainstorm of all the things that I want to update or do or change or shift about my career right now, or to if you were just getting started, do you have a list of all the things that you need to do? Like I need to figure out whether I'm starting an LLC to start my own publishing company. I need to get author photos. I need to start a social media account. I need to get a newsletter. I need to get a mailing list. Do you have a list of all those things? If you don't, I do actually have a free download that's inside my resource library for authors. If you want to check the description down below, that's like all the decisions and all the things you need to get before you self-publish. That is free, but also right now my course, Publish and Thrive, is open for enrollment. So if you want to come join us, you're not only going to get checklists of all that stuff, but you're going to get literally everything you need to know and set up as you self-publish and start marketing your book. So there's a lot more information. There's also a video where I walked through everything we cover in the course that I did live last year. If you want to check that out, it's all going to be in the description for you. But that class is open right now as I'm recording this video, and opens, like, we close enrollment on August 1st. So Saturday, come join us if you want. You will actually have your own strategy like this, not necessarily, you don't have to do it in index cards, but I give you a Google sheet to work on your strategy one thing at a time by the end of the class. So the first thing on my list, dun, da, da, is a solid writing routine. I have been up and down with my time. I'm either binge writing and spending tons of time, like last November, I finished the book. Then in March, I just spent days and days and days of long hours editing the book. But then there's entire sections of time, like entire months, where I don't touch my manuscript at all. And I feel like to really get where I want to go, I have to start with the foundation of a solid writing routine. And I am not really the kind of person who has found success like sitting down and writing at 9 a.m. every single day, especially when the kids are home, because I can't necessarily sit down at the same time. There's other things that are drawing my attention, and each day is a little bit different. But what I started doing was saying 2 hours a day. I'm going to spend 2 hours a day on my fiction one way or another. And then at the beginning of the day, I would look at my schedule and I would say, where do I have either those 2 hours in a row or 30-minute sections throughout the day? And that was really working. And then I went on a mastermind retreat and came back and was launching the course and doing all this stuff, and I got off. So I need to figure out and experiment with what is going to be my ideal writing routine. And so instead of just saying it's going to be this, come hell or high water, instead I'm going to experiment with a couple of different things and see what feels sustainable for my schedule. But I'm going to try to get back on that trajectory of 4 writing sprints a day, 2 hours or 4 30-minute sprints a day. Even if it's 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, 2 at lunch, like whatever it is, I'm going to try to aim for that. And we're going to see how that looks. But that's like first priority, is the writing routine and working on A Throne of Thorns, which is book 2 in my series. The next domino or task on my list is to work on my author branding. So I do have like a logo and things like that, but I have been the kind of author who has written in various genres. So I have a young adult zombie series. I have a young adult mystery series or mystery standalone book. I have my main series is called the Shadow Demon Saga. There are 11 books in this series and 2 main spinoffs with a couple of standalone spinoffs. And this is young adult paranormal fantasy, kind of like contemporary fantasy. And because I have been writing lots of different things, what I want to do right now is really figure out a way to tighten up my author branding in terms of the words that I use, the tropes that I use, the things that are consistent across all of my books. Like every book you pick up from me, there's going to be usually some kind of paranormal aspect, or there's going to be twists and turns. There's going to be things that you don't see coming. There's always going to be fast pacing. There's going to be lots of like a cliffhanger every single chapter that'll keep you reading into the night. So I want to find those through lines in my branding, and I want to get really strong about conveying that to any new reader who finds me. So in my author bio, like rewriting my author bio on my website, in my books themselves, in my marketing, in my Instagram bio, I want to start really solidifying that, because I feel like in this day and age, so many readers, they are burned by authors who are not really what they were expecting, or they're overwhelmed by how many choices they have out there for how many readers and for how many authors there are. And so I think that if you can clearly convey the experience they're going to have reading your books, then the more likely they are to pick up that book and give it a shot. So author branding, what I have listed here is like pulling hooks, which means going through the books and pulling out scenes or scenarios that are really going to hook readers in and make them go, ooh, I want to read that. So working on that, new tropes per series. So a lot of people have been doing trope marketing for the past, I would say like 4 or 5 years. There's been a lot of heavy trope marketing saying like, oh, this involves found family or unreliable narrator or whatever. And I still think that that really works well to convey to readers. You also want to let them know what the book is actually about, not just a list of tropes. But I want to go through every single book that I have and make lists of the hooks, the tropes, the things that people would love about it. Like what are the real things that would make it seem like I want to read that. And a word list. So one thing I've noticed that some of the most successful authors do is they are consistently using the same words to describe themselves. And like my friend Stephanie Holmes, she's completely brilliant. She is so good at branding and marketing. And when she talks about herself, she's always like, hey, I'm Steph Holmes, an author of kooky, spooky romance. And when you hear that kooky, spooky, you know it's going to be those two things, and it fully fills in with really those three things. It's kooky, so it's a little bit odd and a little bit off, not on the beaten path. Like, you know, you're going to get something fun. Spooky because it's witches or vampires or things like that. And then romance because it's spicy and it's always going to be a happily ever after. And so those three words that she uses are so well done in terms of easily, quickly, in a second, in every Instagram reel, in like infecting readers with who and what she is. And I want to do that for myself. I also want to go through a process that I have inside Publish and Thrive, which is my ideal reader guidelines. And I also did this last year at HardyCon. So I had my first ever in-person event as part of the Writer MBA conference. And we did a full workbook called Your Author Success Strategy. And inside this, we really go deep into branding and your ideal reader, like in a deep way that I have never done before this. And so I want to go back through this for myself, thinking about my future of who I want to be. I wrote bucket list, which is not what a real bucket list is. What I mean is like a content pillars, right? So many people will say, oh, content pillars are over, but I think it is really a helpful way to navigate your social media planning, is to say, these are the three main things I talk about: behind the scenes, about writing, about films and movies that I love that are also spooky or witchy, like just having those content pillars. And I haven't done mine in a while. So I'm going to really work on the foundation, because for me, strategically, knowing what my brand is and which readers I'm targeting is the first step to really getting back on the train of daily marketing and social media. So this is the third step, is daily marketing and socials. I am so good about weekly videos here, weekly newsletters here on Heart Breathings. I post almost daily on Instagram stories. Like, I am active in the Heart Breathings community. In my Facebook group for Sarra Cannon, I'm relatively active, but I hardly ever post on Instagram. I never send newsletters. Like, there's a lot of things there that have just been neglected over time, and I cannot expect to grow if I'm not putting any attention there. So I have to do that. So trial reels, posting more often in my Facebook group. I was thinking about starting something like Brandon Sanderson does, the State of the Sanderson, where he talks about like, this book is at this level and this book is up to this many words. And I was thinking about doing something similar to not only hold myself accountable, but to stay in communication with my readers about, I've not given up on book 12. I know it's been 5 years, but the book is coming. And also I do have TikTok. So if you watch that 2024 video, I said specifically that TikTok was not on my list. Well, it is on my list now, so I'm hoping to start posting over there. The next item on my list, which, yes, these are all color-coded. We'll go over the color code and the plan in another video, but I have, of course, like matching dot markers and all of this stuff. I've got my sticky notes and things that match my branding or my color code, stickers, So if you want to see that, we'll do a specific video on how I'm planning this. But tracking and audits. So I did back in 2023, 24, we did, my team and I did a big audit of my books. Some of those things have been updated, but not everything. So I want to revisit that audit and see what still needs to be done. And I also was using a software called Scribe Count, and it really started breaking a lot on me. And I just couldn't use it anymore. It's a beautiful thing. I know it works for a lot of people, so I'm not recommending it. But for me, it kept breaking and it kept disconnecting from my sales numbers, and then it would give me the wrong sales numbers. And so I have moved over to a new sales tracker called PubChamp. I can't say if I recommend it yet. It's just something that a lot of people use. And so I'm hoping this is going to be a better solution for me that's more consistent. So I need to get that all set up and figure out what is my current baseline of sales, which is something I wanted to do in 2024, but I did not keep up with. I also want to have my VA create a social media followers spreadsheet and update that once a month to see if I have increased my following and my engagement, just because the more data you're tracking in terms of, am I making more money? Am I getting more return on my investment? Are these posts actually making a difference? What was my most popular post? What are the kinds of things readers are commenting on most, or what actually increased my sales? The more you can focus on that, the more you can go all in and double down on those things that are working, and then create a new strategy based on what's working. And it's an iterative process, but it's a powerful process. And that goes for anything you're trying to build online. The next one is my newsletter strategy. So I have only ever had one newsletter magnet. A reader magnet is basically something that attracts readers and entices them to join your list. You guys see this all the time with heart breathing. So for example, I already mentioned my self-publishing checklist. You can get it for free. You sign up for my list. And then when you're on my list, I get to build community with you. I get to talk to you more. We get to know each other. I get to offer things to you. That's what I want to do with my readers, because the more readers I can get on my newsletter, and the more they like me and the more they get to know about me and they feel a part of the community, the more likely they are to buy the next book and then tell other people about it. And it's just one of the most valuable marketing tools you can have is a newsletter. A magnet is basically that freebie or something that you give them in order to sign up for your list. Like, hey, this is an exclusive short story, or this is an exclusive deleted scene, or a map, or character art. Come join my newsletter to get it. And one of the things that like my friend Lee Savino does, and I've heard a lot of particularly romance authors are great at this, is creating a reader magnet for every single book. So like if you finished Beautiful Demons, this is book 1 of my Shadow Demon saga, you would get maybe a map of the town, or a character breakdown, or a deleted scene from that first book. Then you go on and you buy book 2 of the series, and maybe you're already on my list, but now you get another free scene, or a deleted scene, or a chapter from another character's point of view. And once you have a reader magnet for every single book that you put out, not only do you get to have more people join your list, like maybe they didn't join for the first 4 books, but by book 5, they're like, oh, I want to get this. Then they get all these things. But also you're able to just continue to shower the readers that you have with more and more free things, and more things that they'll love, which brings them further and deeper into your story world. And you can explore things, like going back to the fun of it, you can explore things that you can't do in the books. But like, oh, I could have a chapter from Jackson's point of view when he sees her for the first time. That's not ever going to be in the books. So that would be a fun thing to give readers for free. So I will have to create a lot of that stuff, and it'll be a lot of work. So this isn't something I can do just overnight, but I could probably create a few of them. The only reader magnet I have is a short story collection. And I think it would be, I know it's not the most enticing piece of what I could be offering. So I want to do that. I need to create landing pages for all of that. I need to warm up my email. So one of the strategies that people will use if you have an email list that's gone cold, meaning you haven't emailed them very often in a long time, is you can start with, like I sent a newsletter when A Mirror of Shadows came out. I can start with the like 4,000 people that opened that email and start sending them regular emails. That kind of warms up my list. Then I can add in the next 500 people that didn't open that email and see if they engage, and gradually start adding those people back onto my list and letting go of people who are no longer engaged. that's one strategy, is to warm them up. Maybe give them something for free, like a serialized short story or something that gets them opening the emails again. And then I need to determine a cadence, like how often can I sustainably send out emails to that list, and then I need to stick with it. So same as the writing routine, I need to set up a newsletter routine and actually start sending out newsletters. And so I've got a lot of newsletter strategy here to work on. Strategically, though, I'm working on the author branding before I start sending the newsletters, because I want to make sure that when I start talking to my readers again, I know exactly who I am as an author and how I want to present myself to those readers. And so that strategically is how I'm deciding which thing goes first, is I want to have that in place so that my newsletter is stronger. I also want to have my newsletter done first before I start fully uploading and updating my files and listings. What are those back matter magnets going to be? I want to have those magnets figured out, because the magnets will go in the back of my book. So if I updated all my files and then I chose all my different reader magnets, I would have to update my files again. So I'm trying to do this in a sequence that makes the most sense strategically and for my sustainability. So I will then update my files, like my back matter, my blurbs. I use Vellum on my Mac to update my files. You can also use free things like Readsy or Draft to Digital, or you could use Atticus, which is on a desktop, or you could use Mac and Cloud. So there's lots of different ways. And again, we go over all this in Publish and Thrive. So if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed and you want to start self-publishing, just buy the course, because it is such a great investment to introduce you to each of these concepts in a really easy way that you can go back to over and over again, because you get lifetime access. So even years from now, when you're publishing your first book or you're going through the process again, you'll have an updated version to look into. So I want to do updates on my blurbs for all my books, like revisit all the blurbs and start looking at, so this is another thing that has to come after. I'm going to add some of those words that I want to use in my consistent author branding, some of those tropes, some of those keywords that I want to use, like kooky, spooky romance. I'm not going to take that because that's Steph's thing, but I want to have my own version of that. And I can use that in my blurbs. So strategically, that comes first, and then the blurbs, keywords, A+ content, my categories, and things like that. Audiobooks, these are on the list too. So I've already started publishing my books in audio, and it is bringing in money every single month. So I have paid for all the way through book 9, and Kylie and her husband Eric are doing such an amazing job, and I want to get those books out. So I'm working with a proofreader. We're getting things done. I'm trying to, like, it just all kind of started piling up. So we're going to start publishing those. So I got to get on that ASAP. Finishing A Throne of Thorns, rough draft. I'm obviously working on that right now, but this is going to be an important piece of increasing my sales. I want to redo my ARC team. So an ARC team is an advanced review copy team where they get a copy of the book early in exchange for a review. And I used to have an ARC team of about 100 to 150 people, but a lot of them maybe no longer read my books. They haven't heard from me in a long time. So I want to reach out to that team and see who's still around, and then rebuild the team. So if you're interested in joining my ARC team, if you like to read young adult or new adult portal fantasy or contemporary fantasy, let me know, because I'll put out a call for ARCs. And you guys would get a free copy of the book in exchange for an honest review on Amazon or Goodreads or Apple or wherever. And so I want to rebuild the ARC team for that launch. The next thing on my list is branding, photos, and art. So this is the visual part of branding. I do like my moon. My author brand looks like this, the little moon. I like it. I really like it. I don't know if I need a refresh. I'm not going to worry about that right now, but maybe as my brand evolves, or I finish my Shadow Demon Saga and I start with something new next, then I might exchange my brand for something or update it. But for now, the part of branding and photos and promos that I want to work on is character art of my series, like the branding of the series itself, as well as new author photos. So I have been putting off author photos for a long time. I don't even have a professional author photo. because I just am like, I want to lose weight. And you could just wait your whole life to be losing weight or to look the way you want to. And I'm like, okay, enough. I'm getting professional author photos done. Also, A Mirror of Shadows, which was my most recent book that came out in March. I have been promising my readers special editions of that. So I need to get it done. I want to also get some artwork, and I want to find the printer that's going to do those special editions. And I need to figure out if I want to start a Shopify store for people to be ordering those special editions and things, or if I want to do TikTok shop. So I want to figure out special editions and how I want to sell and promote them. Then I have just 3 more cards here. So Broken Chapter Society is my membership that I launched in late 2024. And we have hundreds of members in there. It's really fun, but I feel like my energy is not fully consistent in terms of the stuff that I'm giving them. Plus, there's so many things I want to do. Like I see this Broken Chapter Society as being a big part of my future, like enjoyment and love of writing. And when I was reading A Mirror of Shadows live as I was writing it in November, we had so much fun. Spectacular and November, we were having a great time, but it's been difficult to keep up with it because I don't have a consistent schedule. So establishing the writing routine first is important so that then I have stuff to give to the Broken Chapter Society. And I want to create more beyond that. I'll talk about that in another video as I'm creating it, but I think I want to move it also. I'll talk about that. Right now, that membership is on YouTube, but I think I want to move it to Patreon, and I need to figure out how that's going to work. But I have lots of ideas on here that I'll share in another video coming up. 2 more things. So one is ads and promotions. I have never done like Facebook ads, BookBub, CPC ads, Amazon ads for my books. And I want to experiment with it and try it. So I have purchased a few courses so that I can understand it. And I know a lot of times people will say, Sarah, just hire someone to do it for you. But in my experience, hiring someone to do something that I don't know how to do myself is just asking to burn money because I won't know if it's really working the way that it should. I like to get in there and see it and try it like as if I'm making my own pizza, right? Like I want to get in and learn how to do it so that when I see them doing it, if I do hire someone, I know if they're doing the thing that's really working best or if they're doing a better job than I can do on my own and things like that. So I also want to, I didn't even put this on the list, but when I was talking about files and updating files, I want to start creating more box sets. And I think the box sets, especially with the new royalty change where Amazon's going up to 70% on books up to $12.99, allows me to do box sets at a higher price. And so I want to get that out. And then I want to start running some potential ads to that on a Shopify store, but I need to get my head around all of that. So first I want to take the courses that I've bought. I've bought 2 Facebook ad courses, and I also have a free book that I downloaded about Facebook ads. And I just want to experiment in a non-pressure way. You can see that's way farther down my list. So I might not even get to that this year, but it is on my someday list. And then the final thing that I have here is just experiment. So the final thing that I want to do is make a full list once these things are really dialed in. My branding, my files, my keywords are there, the blurbs are how I want them to be, my newsletter, my community is re-engaged. I want to create a list of things to experiment with, like marketing things that I teach inside Publish and Thrive, but that I've never tried before myself, like certain cross-promotional things or Facebook ads, Kickstarters. I want to just experiment and try, and I want to share all of that with you guys here on this YouTube channel as I keep myself accountable, but also as I see what works. Because when it comes to the indie publishing career, there is no one size fits all. As many people will tell you, you have to do it this way. You have to be in Kindle Unlimited. You have to publish in a trendy genre. You have to do Facebook ads. You have to have a newsletter. Like people will tell you a million ways of things that you have to have. And it can feel really overwhelming, especially if you have a full-time job or you have people that you take care of, or you are someone with a chronic illness who can't necessarily put in 40 or 50 hours a week to this business. But I'm here to tell you that you can create a career that is tailored to your available time and your available energy and the things that you're interested in. You don't have to have social media. You don't have to be in Kindle Unlimited. You don't have to publish to the trendiest genres. You can create a career that is what you want it to be. And it's really about knowing what are the ways that I can stack the odds in my favor. Like if I'm going to write a genre that is not currently trendy, how do I then find the right readers that are going to sustain a career or availability to continue, like making enough money to continue publishing? Because it's going to be different than if you were writing in the trendiest genre. And that is one of the things that most indie authors miss, but something that I understand very, very clearly, not only from doing this myself for 16 years, but from working with thousands of authors along the way. And so I'm going to share that with you guys here as I go through it myself. But what works for me might not work for you, but it's just going to show you what experimenting looks like, what having fun with this looks like. Because I think that is one of the biggest keys of this whole thing is I just want to be having fun. I got into this because I loved it and I just want to continue to love it. And I know the more that I love it and the more I pour my love into the writing and the marketing and the sharing of these stories, the more readers I'm naturally going to find. And I'm going to prove that to myself by going all in with this. So that is today's video. Really and truly, if you want to get started for yourself, come join me in Publish and Thrive. We start on Saturday. Might leave enrollment open a little bit longer because as I'm transitioning over from sort of full-time course creator to a balanced career, I'm probably not going to do as many course launches as I used to. So some of my courses might just stay open all the time, and then we'll do live streams and Q&As throughout the year. And so some things might start looking a little bit different, but I don't know for sure what that is going to look like. So if you can, come jump in before Saturday with our live kickoff call. You will not regret it. This course, even just the first module, is worth the money and then some. And it's an amazing community. Plus, you get access to me to answer your questions individually. And I know strategy, but man, sometimes it's the mindset piece that holds us back. So we do have an entire module about just the mindset of being an indie author and really sustaining this over the long term. All right, you guys, that is it for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you got some ideas for your own career. Let me know in the comments what you're most excited to see me try and experiment with as I move forward in Project Phoenix. So yes, lots of projects. So we have Project Phoenix is this part of my career, but Project 180 is 180 days of getting my life back on track. So I have about 90 days left of that project, and I'm going to make the most of it. And a big part of that project is getting back to joy and full-time income as an author. So let's do it together. All right, you guys, I super love you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Come join us in Publish and Thrive. Also, I will be live tomorrow night as you're watching this on July 31st at 5 p.m. Eastern, to just go over what do you do with your book now that you're done Rough Draft Challenge? How do you edit your book? How do you keep moving forward? How do you not give up even if you're feeling burned out? And I'll be there to answer any questions that you have about Rough Draft Challenge, how to write a book, how to edit a book, how to publish your book. Any questions that you have will be live for about an hour. So I will see you then. And then I will be back this weekend for a flip through of my brand new Vanderspec planner, all my hopes and dreams, all of my Project 180 notes of Project Phoenix are going in this beautiful planner, and I cannot wait for you to see it. So hit that subscribe button. We got a lot of content coming up soon. I love you guys, and I will see you next time. Bye.